darkness beckons with a chilling call. Come closer, listen to the shadows draw. So subscribe and like, and don't be afraid to dive into the darkness where the shadows are laid. Tales from the shadows will spook your world. Join us on this journey, let your fears unfurl. Stay tuned, stay weird, and watch out for what lurks in the shadows.
Welcome, friends, to the dark and the deep, where whispers linger and shadows creep. Tales from the shadows, where legends arise, with ghostly stories and myths that mesmerize. Today's tale, The Whispering Shadows, takes us to the town of Draymore, where we enter Crowley Manor. The old mansion had loomed over the town of Draymore for as long as anyone could remember. Once grand and imposing, it had decayed into a shadow of its former glory. The locals whispered about strange occurrences, disappearances, lights flickering in the dead of night, and eerie whispers that carried on the wind. No one dared to venture near the place after dark, not even for a dare. Yet, there was a particular lure to it. Tommy, Allison, Mark, and Jessica, college friends looking for a thrill, decided to test the rumors. What better way to celebrate Halloween than by exploring Draymore's most notorious haunted site? Are you guys sure about this? Jessica asked, her nerves already frayed as the group stood before the mansion's iron gates. Tommy grinned, flipping a flashlight in his hand. It's just a spooky old house. What's the worst that could happen? They pushed the gate open with a loud creak and approached the entrance. As the door groaned open, a gust of cold air rushed out to greet them. They laughed it off, unaware of the shadows already watching them from the darkness within. The house greeted them with an ominous silence. Dust coated every surface, and cobwebs hung like curtains. The flicker of their flashlight was the only light cutting through the gloom. The faint odor of decay hung in the air. Creepy, but not that bad, Mark said, trying to keep his voice steady. As they ventured deeper, strange things began to happen. A portrait on the wall seemed to watch them, its eyes following their movements. Shadows twisted in the corners, even when no one was moving. Allison laughed nervously, but the others were growing uneasy. Then there was a loud thump from upstairs. What the hell was that? Tommy asked, pointing his flashlight towards the staircase. Just the house settling, Mark said, though his voice betrayed doubt. But the sound of slow, deliberate footsteps from the floor above told a different story. Determined to prove there was nothing to fear, Tommy led them upstairs. The second floor was even darker, and the air seemed heavier and oppressive. They found an old dust-covered chest in the attic. Inside was a journal, its leather cover cracked and faded with age. It belonged to Jonathan Crowley, the house's last owner. Flipping through the pages, they discovered unsettling entries. Crowley had been obsessed with the occult. He wrote of rituals, sacrifices, and an ancient curse that clung to the house like a sickness. He claimed the spirits of those who died within its walls were trapped, unable to move on. The last entry was scrawled in shaky handwriting. They whisper to me at night. They wait in the shadows. They want my soul, and I fear it will soon join them. That night, they decided to stay in the house, but to finish exploring it in the morning. But as darkness fell, the whispers began. At first, they were soft, like the rustling of leaves. But then they grew louder and more precise, voices murmuring unintelligibly. Jessica was the first to hear them. She sat bolt upright in her sleeping bag, her heart racing. The whispers seemed to come from all around her, circling like predators. She shook Tommy awake, but when he listened, all he heard was silence. Just a dream, he muttered, rolling over, but Jessica knew better. She could see the shadows moving where there shouldn't be any. Are you a fan of Tales from the Shadows? Want to support the show? Well, you're in luck. You can buy some Tales from the Shadows merch by clicking the link in the description. Whether you want accessories, a hoodie, or maybe even just a t-shirt, Tales from the Shadows has a little bit of it all. So don't wait. Order your Tales from the Shadows merch now. Now let's get back into the tale. By morning, things had escalated. Mark had gone missing. His bedroll lay undisturbed, but there was no sign of him anywhere in the house. Panic set in as they searched every room, calling his name to no avail. In the attic, they found footprints from the window to where Mark had been sitting. The journal lay open, with new writing scrawled across the page in Mark's handwriting. They are inside me. The shadows, they whisper promises. Allison screamed, backing away from the journal. We need to leave, now. But as they rushed to the front door, it slammed shut with a force that echoed through the manor. The air grew cold, and the shadows deepened, becoming almost solid. Something was keeping them there. The day dragged on, but the sun never seemed to fully rise. The manor seemed to trap them in a perpetual twilight. Allison grew pale and jittery, muttering to herself. She swore she could see faces in the walls, eyes staring from the darkness. Tommy tried to stay calm, but the pressure was mounting. He couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched by something ancient and evil. On the other hand, Jessica was growing more convinced that they had awoken something terrible. As she stared into the mirror, she thought she saw her reflection smile back at her, a twisted, hungry grin that did not match her own. Desperate for answers, they returned to the attic, flipping through the journal. Tommy found a description of a ritual that could supposedly banish the spirits, but it required blood, a sacrifice. I'm not doing this, Allison shouted, backing away. This is insane. Before anyone could argue, the shadows began to close in, whispering louder and more insistent. They could feel the air grow thick with malice, the temperature dropping as the spirits revealed themselves. Twisted, half-formed figures, their faces contorted with rage and pain. They had to act fast. Tommy grabbed the journal and frantically started reading the incantation. Allison screamed as the shadow lunged at her, wrapping cold, invisible fingers around her throat. Jessica and Tommy tried to free her, but the shadow was too strong. It was as if the house itself was trying to consume her. The words from the journal echoed through the room, clashing with the furious whispers of the spirits. The walls began to shake, the windows rattled, and the air grew even colder. Jessica could see Mark's face among the shadows, twisted and lost, beckoning them to join him. The magic wasn't enough. The spirits needed more. They needed a soul. Tommy looked at Jessica, his eyes filled with fear and regret. We have to do it, he whispered. One of us has to stay, or none will leave. Allison, struggling for breath, nodded weakly. Go. I'll hold them off. Go. Tears filled Jessica's eyes as she and Tommy backed away. Pale but resolute, Allison stood in the center of the room, facing the shadows. As they swarmed over her, the whispers grew into screams. Tommy and Jessica ran. They stumbled out of the house, gasping for air, the cold night air feeling like a blessing. They collapsed on the grass, staring up at the manor as the shadows receded into its depths. It was over. Or so they thought. As they drove away, the car filled with silence. The town of Draymore lay quiet in the distance, the manor a fading silhouette. But as the wind howled through the trees, Jessica froze. The faintest sound, like whispers, carried on the breeze, growing louder. The shadows weren't done with them yet. I wonder what could happen to Tommy and Jessica at this point. What did the shadows want? I guess we'll have to wait and see another time. Because that's going to do it for this tale. Be sure to like and subscribe so you never miss a story. And don't forget to comment about your favorite tale. You may see it here on Tales from the Shadows. Until next time, Stay tuned, stay weird, and watch out for what lurks in the shadows.
This has been Tales from the Shadows, where the shadows speak the stories that will make you weak. Join us on this journey into the unknown. Tales from the shadows, where fear is shown. So subscribe and like, and don't be afraid to dive into the darkness where the shadows are laid.